On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get another clutch win. How are the Mavericks so much better in second halves than in first halves? What did Kyrie bring to the game? And more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we let it ride. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section what stood out to you in the Mavs win against the Orlando Magic. Second night of a back-to-back. Didn't matter for the Mavs. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150. If your team wins, visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And joining me, post-game co-host, friend of the pod, biased slightly. What you got for me, slightly biased?
Life's good, Nick. Not in the first 24 minutes of Mavericks games, but in the second 24 minutes.
Half, baby. Second half vibes. Good. Second half vibes.
I think we can all learn a thing or two from this Mavericks team, just in life.
Yeah. They got it. They had us in the first half. You had me in the first half and then bounce back. Just always bounce back. Listen to coach and bounce back in the second half, apparently.
Don't take your life seriously whatsoever until you absolutely have to.
Procrastinate. It's fine. Go into a zone in the second quarter and not take it seriously. And then when you have to, score 30 points in this last two quarters and hold your opponent to 17 and 19 points in the last two quarters.
Yeah, do not take gambling advice from this Mavericks team.
No.
You're down that big, quit.
Yeah. What is it, 1-800-GAMBLING to get some help if you're taking cues from this Mavericks team? Good Lord.
Do not do it.
Oh my gosh. On today's show, we'll get into the Mavericks win against the Magic, 117-102. We'll talk about Luka Doncic's game, concussion protocol. Did the blue tent get called out?
Oh.
Not necessarily, but he did go to the back. We'll talk about Tim Hardaway Jr. I think he deserves some praise. Dereck Lively got in foul trouble, so Dwight Powell almost played 30 minutes in this one. Grant Williams, I thought, had a big impact in this one. But we got to start, I think, with Kyrie Irving, who there's some talk about him today, and I had some talk about him yesterday about how he hasn't really been shooting the ball well at all. Like 21% from three coming into tonight. He was averaging like 20 points, but ho-hum, 20 points for Kyrie Irving is just not what we're used to seeing from him. And I went through some of the stats earlier today, and I was basically just noticed he's taking 2 less threes a game compared to his last 5-year averages. He's taking 2 less threes a game. He's getting 1 more assist a game. And he's obviously shooting way worse than normal. If he had hit a couple of those threes and maybe take one of those assists away, because you're taking a couple of shots and making them passes right now with the Mavericks. If you take a couple of those away, then he's averaging like 25, 26 points.
Yeah.
And so really it was just on Kyrie. Can he hit a couple of threes? But the passing stood out to me, and I kept thinking back to that. And again, in this game, Kyrie has 10 assists. He finishes with 21 points. He only had how many points did he have in the first half? I mean, he had 3 points in the first half. He had 18 in the second half. He had 3 assists in the first half, 7 assists in the second half, 1 of 5 from the field in the first half, 7 of 13 in the second half. Kyrie really embodied what this team was, the way he turned it on, the way that he was more aggressive in the second half, the way that he got a couple steals as well in the second half. Just the way that he was all over the place, the way that he was taking over, it was night and day, which is what the Mavericks look like in this game.
Yeah, no, and I like you said, it's just exactly how this team has played all season long. And a big reason why they played like that all season long is because Kyrie's played like that all season long. Yeah,
right.
Because he comes out slow in the first half. But, I've been defending Kyrie Irving so far this entire season. I think just watching the games and then rewatching the games, he's playing so well. He's just doing so many different things for the Mavericks where, the shots aren't falling, but watching the games, the process looks good. The shots are good. It's not like he's just jacking up nonsense. He's just missing shots that he will not miss over the course of the season once he gets hot. And hopefully, he had a pretty good second half here. So hopefully this is really the start of him being a little bit more consistent, because the Mavericks do need him to be better out of the gate. Yeah. But His playmaking's been tremendous. It's been very good. And his defense has been shocking.
Since he joined the Mavericks, I thought his defense has been much better than I would have expected. It seems like he takes pride there. You know, he told us at media day, he's like, I think of myself as a 4 and want to get blocks and rebounds. And you're like, okay, well, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if he gets that. He got 6 rebounds in this game. Got a couple of good ones. He didn't get credit for any blocks, but he's gotten some blocks recently in games where you just go, wait, is Kyrie like playing really good defense right now? I'm like, yeah, he is. He's bought in. But the defense for the Mavericks is the thing that I want to focus on. You focus on Kyrie's offense, and the stats stand out more on the offensive end. But the Mavs allowed 66 points in the first half. What is it? 36 points in the second half.
It doesn't make any sense.
Just turned it on. I mentioned, I joked earlier. You go into a zone, like we were making the metaphor about your life. But really, that's exactly what happened. Second quarter, the Mavericks were not defending that well. Mavericks were also giving up a bunch of turnovers as well. We'll talk about that. But in the second quarter, they went into a zone. Dereck Lively was getting in foul trouble, so they just had Dwight out there. They went into a zone, and the Mavericks basically used that zone as an excuse to kind of slack. You'd be like, okay, it's fine. It's like in school when you have an open book test, and so you don't look up anything the day before, and you just open up. Then you're like, I don't know where anything in this book is. It really felt like they just didn't know where to go, or they did, and they just didn't have the effort to put into it. They're on the second night of a back-to-back. We should mention that Kyrie and Luka were both questionable coming to this game. They ended up playing. Maxi Kleber was questionable coming to this game too, and he was a game time decision and ended up not playing. So that makes me a little encouraged about his status and where he is right now. Yeah. But in the second quarter, the Mavs defense is just getting beat backdoor all the time. Their help recover defense was just awful. Like the one pass away thing we talked about yesterday was just so bad. And then in the second half, they completely erased that. And we're putting in all the effort and we're playing, really good defense, I thought.
Yeah, it's just, I don't understand it at all. I made this joke on Twitter. It's like, if you put hidden cameras in Katy Trail, not the Katy Trail, the Katy Trail bar, you could probably catch a few Mavericks. Yeah, Katy Trail Ice House. You could probably catch a few Mavericks, enjoying a little happy hour margarita on game day. Then they have the discovery like at 4:30 p.m. Oh my God, we're playing the Hornets in 2 hours.
We play again.
Then they sober up at halftime because that's what it looks like. And then Tim after the game was mentioning, paraphrasing obviously, but he was like, "Yeah, you said this before we went live that Grant Williams said the same thing yesterday. Pretty much was like, yeah, we just listened at halftime and decided, we wanted to come out and do what the coaches wanted us to do at the start of the game." And it's just like, why can't you guys just come out of the gates? Like, why? It's just so insane how huge the difference is. It doesn't make any sense.
This is Grant Williams' actual quote. The Mavs send out these quotes to us. They type them out and they send it to us. The primary cause that we don't listen. I feel that's the biggest issue on that. We knew what the game plan was, and we knew we were going to put pressure in the paint in the first half. This is about the Hornets. They popped out like 30 or 40 points in the paint. So we have to do a better job of executing the game plan. The coaches put us in a great position. They do a phenomenal job of making sure that we're ready and prepared every single night. So we have to do a better job making sure we listen to those guys and come out and make sure that those guys that we're playing against, so that they're ready for it. Basically, like, we just didn't listen to the coach, or we came out and were haphazard, and then all of a sudden they sat up in their chair in the second half. And it's happened over and over again. Mm-hmm. There's one side of it where I look at these games and I look at some of these wins and go, all right, that really concerns me. Because you could have a game like they had against the Nuggets where you give up so much in the first quarter that you just never recover. Even if you win the rest of the game, you just can't recover from it.
Yep.
But against some of these other teams, the Orlandos, the Charlottes, not necessarily on the same level, but those type of teams, you can get away with that and be good enough in the rest of the game. So you look at it and you're like, all right, well, if this Mavericks team's just going to mess around, are they more like the first half team, or are they more like the second half team? Because at least the second half team exists. Last year, I don't know if the second half team really even existed.
Yeah, no, the second half team did not exist. People in my chat were joking. It's like last year, like, all right, guys, we blew so many leads last year that we're just not going to jump out to any leads. No. Like, we're just not even going to put ourselves.
Let's be the comeback team this year.
Yeah, the blow the lead team was not fun. We don't want to do that again.
No,
it is crazy.
I'm out on that. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, the comebacks are more fun.
So, all right, coming up, let's get into Luka Doncic, Tim Hardaway Jr., the other impact. How did the Mavericks win this game? How did they come down to the end? And how were they excellent in the clutch? And especially Luka and Kyrie, their connection. Let's talk about all that we saw in that coming up. Before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has you covered with all kinds of odds and lines. And right now, you can put down $5 and get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. So you can get it. Go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. You can get that right now. I updated the MVP odds. MVP odds, Luka's moving down. He's now at plus 420. 420 for Luka on FanDuel. Jokic is plus 300 now. Jason Tatum plus 750. Embiid plus 750. And Curry plus 1,000. Giannis no longer on the top 5 in the leaderboard right now. So if you're thinking about Luka Doncic for MVP earlier, his odds kind of went down. We'll see how they go after this game, but this is where they are as of right now. So go check out FanDuel. Again, go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get that bonus bets offer. If you put down a $5 money line bet and you win it, again, check it out. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. We appreciate you. If you want to support the show, go the extra mile. If you want to have me in your phone, basically, a direct line, text me, get thoughts during the game from me. I'll do a film breakdown after every game. I did one earlier today from the Hornets game. You want to get all that stuff sent right to your phone in a text message. Subscribe to our subtext. Click the link in the description or text the number that's on the screen and in the description right there. All right, Slightly. We talked about the first half, second half thing, but really, it really was a tale of two halves in this one. The Mavericks' defensive rating in the first half of this game, which is the points allowed per 100 possessions, was 129.4.
Not good.
Which is bad, just awful. Yeah. They finished the game. This is not like what the second half was compared to the first. They finished the game with 102 defensive rating. Just elite level defense in the second half. So what did they do different?
I don't know. I really have to. I mean, Lively played more in the second half. That's one part of it, right? It feels like, at least, if you were to tell me that he played more minutes in the second half, I would believe you.
He technically played more in the second half. He played 7 minutes and 44 seconds in the first half. He played 8 minutes and 6 seconds in the second half. So he played about 20 seconds more in the second. I didn't think that it was live. I thought the team just locked in. This Mavericks defense, all last season, all the season before when they were in the Western Conference Finals, is all about, whether Sean Sweeney's the defensive coordinator or not. It's Jason Kidd's defense. They're going to run it. It's, what Frank Vogel ran and with the Lakers back when they won the title in 2020. It's all that. It all depends on effort, execution, communication, and all that. They did not put the effort in the first half. That zone was such a demonstration of what their effort was in the second half. They switched to it. They're like, all right, well, let's try zone because let's try to break some of these points in the paint, because Orlando had 34 points in the paint in the first half, which is bad. The Mavericks only had 14. They were getting killed in the paint again because Lively was out because of foul trouble. And yeah, you're not going to defend at the rim as well if Dwight Powell is compared to Dereck Lively. And so they try to go to a zone, and nobody really took it seriously, it felt like to me. And that goes back to Grant Williams' quote about listening, Tim Hardaway's quote about listening. We just didn't listen to what the game plan was and take the details very seriously. In the second half, they did that. It's kind of a cop-out to say, well, they just put in more effort. But honestly, that's the Mavs defense really dictates. That's what they need.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the effort was there. The intensity was there. They were putting pressure on this is a very young Orlando Magic team, and they're good, but their offense can be very, shaky. And we saw that. They turned the ball over a ton. I thought they did a great job on Franz Wagner, who was a ghost pretty much in this game. And
the wrong Wagner twin was leading in points at a certain point.
Yeah, and Mo Wagner played well, but it gets to a certain point with the Mavericks where, your offense is so good, we'll take Mo Wagner post-ups. If that's what we're trading, Mo Wagner post-ups for our threes or whatever.
I'll take the wild 100%. Cole Anthony, off the dribble, throw up a shot.
And that was their whole offense in the second half, was just Cole Anthony getting tough baskets. He had a nice game, but, I mean, we live with that. That's okay with us.
Second half, Orlando shot 1 of 16 from 3, which is nuts.
Good.
Paolo had 6 points, and Franz Wagner had 3 points in the second half.
How many turnovers in the second half for Paolo, I wonder? Feels like it would be a ton.
He had 3. They had 8 total in the second half. Orlando did. But yeah, their offense feels a lot like the Clippers to me before James Harden. They just played with James Harden for the first time tonight. But it felt like before James Harden, we got 2 guys. We're gonna take a bunch of jumpers, and if one of those 2 guys is off, then where else are we getting offense? Maybe somebody else has to go off. It feels like that to me. But yeah, this Mavericks team, man, second halves. Maybe Jake Kemp and I will be able to explain it tomorrow. Jake Kemp is coming on, and so we'll talk about first half, second half Mavs. I'll do some more film breakdown. And
yeah, that's really it.
There's got to be more. There's got to be more of an answer than they're just listening. But
I know it just doesn't even make sense. Suggs was out too, or not Suggs, Fultz. That he's kind of their floor general.
Wendell Carter Jr. I thought was the one that was out for the Magic that made a big difference because they had to start Gogo Batadze, and Gogo Batadze almost concussed Luka with his knee, but he was not that great despite a couple of baskets and a couple of steals and stuff. But that was the one they missed a lot, was Wendell Carter Jr. And Jonathan Isaac also not in this game either. Mm-hmm. He was missing. He came in questionable and then ended up not playing. Big surprise, big surprise there.
Yeah,
tonight was like a great night for like the guys that are injured all the time that were stayed injured. Like Rob Williams had to have surgery again. It's like, oh man,
that one's brutal. Take him out of your trade machines, Mavs fans. I've seen all the tweets.
I just like both of these guys. I get fake trades sent all the time about Rob Williams, about Jonathan Isaac. Like, man, you just like can't trust some of these guys like medicals. It's tough, and like you want them to work out and want it. And if it does work out, you're a genius. But if it doesn't work out, then you just wasted assets on a guy that's not even playing for you. It's like the Porzingis thing all over again sometimes.
It's hard to shake that too. It just is. It's hard to go from hurt all the time to not hurt all the time.
Yeah, even Embiid misses time. He was hurt all the time at the beginning, and now he'll miss time every once in a while during the regular season.
Yeah,
you just got to pencil it in. Luka, 29 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. 6 turnovers for Luka. Just kind of a weird Luka game. Hit 5 threes. He was big there. The crunch time stuff though. I thought the clutch stuff. Him and Kyrie were so good in the clutch. I feel like they've really taken last season on the chin and just said we've got to be better. And they said that they worked on a ton of clutch like offensive execution stuff in training camp, and it seems to have paid off because that's the only time they got together. It was in training camp because they didn't really play together in preseason. But 12 points and 3 assists for Luka in the fourth quarter, 11 points and 2 assists for Kyrie in the fourth quarter. They were excellent and executed really well at the end of that game.
Yeah, and there was that one sequence right at the end, that dagger, the 2 dagger plays. That was everything you ever wanted to see. The Magic, they're a very good defensive team. They're very well coached. Shout out to Jamal Mosley, who thought I was worried for his health towards the end of that game with how angry he was at the refs. But they helping off of Kyrie to double Luka is just a shocking decision. Kyrie made the pay with the 3. Then the next play, transition. Kyrie finds Luka, who hits a stop and pop 3.
Catch and shoot.
Yeah. I mean, how many? If you told me he hit 3 of those threes in his whole career, I'd believe you.
That's probably shocking. He did say this year he's working on his catch and shoots.
He shot more. He is definitely shooting more this year. Feels like he gets 2 or 3 of those a game.
You mentioned Jamal Mosley complaining to the refs. There was at 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. They were down by what, 6? Just about 6 or 7, 8, something like that.
The game was slipping away for sure.
The game was really slipping away from them. They had been up by 15 at one point. Now they were like down 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And he wanted a foul. Paolo Banchero, attacked the basket, and Dwight was pretty vertical, like pretty much straight up. I didn't think it was a foul. You could call it if you really wanted to call something, but he didn't get a foul call. Ball fell. Paolo had 5 fouls at that point too, so it was like he thought that he was getting treated unfairly. But you know what Jamal Mosley did, and Devin Harris called this out on the broadcast. He was just trying to fire up his team.
Yeah, for sure.
He was just trying to get him back in. Like I give him credit. Like he tried to get him like fired up and get him back in, but Luka and Kyrie hit those dagger 3s, and you can't really do anything if you're down by 7, and then you're trying to double Luka, and then you're trying to double Kyrie because they're both going off on you, and then all of a sudden they both hit 3s. Like you can't do it both, and that's what makes this offense so unguardable at times.
Mm-hmm. Their clutch offense has been tremendous. Their second half offense has been the best in the league so far by offensive rating, and I'm sure that's just going to improve after tonight. But man, it's just. When Luka is dissecting the defense the way that he has the last 2 second halves, the Charlotte game last night and the game tonight for the Mavericks, there's just nothing you can do defensively. Once he figures you out, it's just a matter of, all right, are these guys hitting shots or not? Or am I hitting shots if the defense is giving them? Because if they are, then it's over for you. And that's what we've seen the last 2 nights.
And then this is the same as 2 years ago. Once the Mavericks lock in on defense and once they're like, okay, we've got to actually execute and play, they'll play good defense, which just kind of felt like that they only do it in the second half because they kind of like, oh, we're down. Now we've got to really pay attention and sit up. And so, like, if you can do that, if Luka can pick you apart and your defense actually stays adequate or stays really good like it has been in the second half, you're going to win a bunch of games.
Yeah.
Now the Mavs are 6-1, baby.
That's crazy. Hey, this is a good Orlando team, too. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Well, they had a winning record coming into this. What are they? They're 4-2 coming into this.
4-2. Hadn't lost at home. Second best defense in the league. Take that with you.
Take that with you.
Take that with you.
All right, coming up, let's talk about everybody else and what kind of contributions they made. Tim Hardaway Jr. Let's talk about Dereck Lively a little. What have we seen from Josh Green, Grant Williams? Let's talk about all that kind of stuff coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Jase Medical. Jase has the answer to a problem that I just hadn't really thought about before. You know that you're going to be in an emergency situation at some point. You know that you're going to be traveling, and you know that you're going to be stuck, and you may need some emergency medications. Jase Case, their personalized emergency medication kit, I've got it right here, contains 5 essential antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. You can also customize your case and add additional life-saving medication based on your unique needs. You take a survey. I went through this. Take a survey, say what you're allergic to, say a bunch of different stuff, and then they'll send you out after they ask you a bunch of questions. They also have licensed physicians to be able to answer some more questions like that. Jase is continually working to expand their medical offerings. And so in recent efforts, they've added a bunch of other stuff too. So check it out. They have gift cards as well. If you want to give the Jase Case to somebody else or give them a gift card to be able to buy one so that they can get it for their own medical needs and all that, go to jasemedical.com, enter Locked On at checkout for a $20 discount on your order. That's promo code Locked On, all one word, Locked On at JASE Medical, jasemedical.com. Go get your Jase Case and that peace of mind today.
Shut it down. Let's go home.
All right, Slightly, let's talk about who else made an impact on this Dallas Mavericks team. We talked about Luka. We talked about his fourth quarter, Kyrie's tale of two halves, the Mavs' tale of two halves. Luka, by the way, went in concussion protocol with 7 minutes and 17 seconds left in the third quarter. He was kind of backing down Goga Batadze, but Goga Batadze pulled the chair out from under him a little bit, and then Luka kind of stumbled and then fell and hit his head on the back of Goga's knee. And
It was
then
Anthony Black.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, he was posting up Anthony Black, and then Anthony Black pulled the chair, and Goga came to help.
Oh, right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Anyway, he hit Goga's knee with his head.
Yeah.
And then everybody else goes to the other end. And then in the middle of the play, they stop play and say, we've got to do concussion protocol.
Yeah.
And Jamal Mosley was freaking out about that too, which I kind of understand. Like,
Rightfully so.
Can you just stop play in the middle for an injured player? And then Mark Fellow aptly brought up that this is like a new kind of rule, especially in soccer and other leagues that they've done, that they will stop play for concussion, because if there's a head injury, you don't want to just keep playing on. And so Luka goes back to the locker room. They checked it. He came back with like 5 minutes left in that quarter. So he's only out for a couple of minutes. And then that was probably going to be when he checked out of the when he checked out of the game anyway. So didn't seem like there's any problems there. Luka and Kyrie both also played in this game, which they were questionable coming in. So I thought that was a good sign for both of them to play in the second game of a back-to-back.
Yeah, I didn't think Luka was going to play tonight, just based off what they did last season with how careful they were with Luka in back-to-back, especially early on in the season, and how he looked last night. Like, it just looked like he was just dealing with 14 different leg injuries throughout the course of the game. So I was shocked to see that he played. I was expecting Kyrie to play, but I like it. I do. I mean, he's 24, man. I remember when I was 24, I could have gone out there and played back-to-back games.
Was it like 2 days ago?
No, I wish.
What did you see from Tim Hardaway Jr. in this game? You've been a staunch defender of Tim Hardaway, and I kind of have been too. He'll drive you insane, but they're not 6-1 without Tim Hardaway Jr.'s. In one half or the other, he's very good. It's every game. It's probably the opposite of the one that the Mavs have been good in. Like, in first halves, he'll be great. Second halves, he'll be bad. Yeah. But he finished with 21 points. He had 6 boards, 8 of 16 from the field. They needed him, and they needed his scoring to stay in this one.
Yeah, no, this is so, like, I'll defend Tim. And I think I said it on this show, like, before the season started. If you trade Tim, someone has to replace him, because it's not like he just goes out there and just aimlessly does stuff. Like, he's a volume shooter, and sometimes the shots are baffling, but someone's got to take those shots. It's nice to have someone who's willing to take those shots. And then you had, I think it was the end of the third quarter where he just went nuclear and really just kind of, it felt like solidified. It was just like, okay, the Mavericks are going to win this game now. because Tim Hardaway Jr. goes absolutely berserk and then almost hit that 360 no scope three at the end of the quarter. I thought that was going in, but
you know who else thought it was going in?
Who?
Tim 100%. He thought that was going in.
It was a good, hey, for the last shot of the quarter, I thought that was a good look, honestly. But I want to say all the and ones Tim's getting, there's just no way like he's not on pace to just shatter his career high in and ones. I feel like
it has to be.
On like not 4-point plays, because last year at certain points I think he was like leading the league in 4-point plays, it felt like, but like these like the layups and ones, it just feels like that's just never really been part of his game, and now it is. He's playing with a lot of like even more so than usual confidence and swagger, and
he had another one in this game, right? Another and one.
Yeah, it was in the third quarter.
All right, through 6 games, how many and ones do you think he has?
7.
He has 5. He has 5.
Oh,
so almost won a game, which is wild. Last year, he played 71 games. How many and ones do you think he had?
8.
16.
Oh, okay. So
Still,
he is on pace to shatter that.
16 in 71 games. You're totally right. I mean, he's on pace. What did he in 2019 when he got traded from the Knicks to the Mavs? So he played 65 games total. He had 28 that season. But I mean, 5 in 6 games already. He's poised to smash that. He's been attacking the basket a little bit more. He hasn't just been, just jump shoot and nothing else. I mean, he had a couple of good drives in this one. His drives will drive you nuts every once in a while, and they'll throw bad passes. And he's not an all-star, so he's not going to do everything perfectly in that sense. But he's really contributed, and his volume shooting has been great. The thing if they trade Tim Hardaway that you mentioned earlier, if they do it, it's got to be for a really good, like above average defensive player. Like, you trade him to change what your like reputation is, or you change what your team is basically. Because right now you can just be a volume 3-point shooting, take a ton of threes. But if you change to a really good defensive team, like you'd have to switch that. Like you'd have to change your whole mentality almost if you trade Tim, because he is what their mentality is sometimes.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with people, and it's not like I'm opposed to trading Tim Hardaway Jr. or anything like that. It's just that's a hard thing to replace. And like you said, I just don't know what trade package would be there to like fundamentally shift the way your basketball team plays in a trade that involves Tim Hardaway Jr. I mean, unless he's just salary filler, which would probably be the case of what it was. But yeah, man, the aggressive attacks on the rim, he's doing it more, and you need that. You just do. We see what happens when the Mavericks are on defense. Teams relentlessly attack the paint, and good things happen a lot of the times. So it's an important thing to have on a basketball team.
Grant Williams finished the game at plus 18. He had 13 points. A disappointing, just terrible shooting night for Grant Williams. Just could not find the bottom of the bucket. 2 of 5 from 3 for 40%. Just
need him to get going again.
Couldn't figure it out from downtown. Grant Williams came into the game shooting 55% from 3. But the defense is like, he makes the defense sometimes. I feel like just his communication, him being out there, like him saying that after the Hornets game the other day, we just got to listen. Like you feel like he's probably a big part of the vocal leadership. Like 33 minutes plus 18, it kind of speaks for itself sometimes.
Yeah, he's just tremendous defensively. I feel like I've just said all I can say about him. And Derrick Jones Jr. too. Like I just think that if you had to guess, what do you think like the on-off for Derrick Jones Jr. is for the defensive stuff? It's
hard because I feel like he's played more in that first quarter, and they've been really bad in the first quarter. Yeah. But I'm assuming that it's been positive. I'm going to say +3 or something.
So that was my initial thought, was that, well, he's been on the floor in the first quarter. It's been really bad. When he's off the floor, the Mavs defensive rating is 121, which is terrible.
Not
like
good.
That's like bottom of the league bad. When he's on the floor, it's 109.
Dang.
Yeah. So a massive, which because I had the same thought process you had, which was, well, he's out there in the first quarter with the starting unit where things are really bad. But man, I'm really impressed by him. I just really am.
He's been great. He's been great defensively. He hit 1 3 in this one, took a couple more. He almost had another crazy dunk putback.
Oh yeah, that would have been nuts. I thought he broke every finger on his hand.
just smashed the rim. But when he's not out there, they've been going with like these 4-guard lineups. It'll be like Kyrie and Tim and Hardy and Josh. They did it again. They did it last night. They did it again tonight. And then they'll do a center, Dwight or something. I'm like, you're playing 3 6'5" guys and a 6'2" guy. Like, there's just no size on there. And that's one of the reasons why I thought Omax would get some time, just because of sheer size. They wanted some bigs out, like some bigger wings out there. But no, they're just sticking with Grant. They stick with 2 wings in this, like 2 bigger wings in the starting lineup, and Grant Williams and Derek Jones Jr. And then they don't play any in the bench lineups, and then they end the game. Sometimes it's Josh, sometimes it's Derek Jones Jr. But
yeah, they love that they love that 4-guard lineup, and it feels like it works. I just don't know. It doesn't make sense, but then it's like, wait, the Mavericks were losing by 3, and now they're up by 5. Like what happened here?
They just hit a bunch of shots, and then they get turnovers.
Yeah.
Derek Lively struggled with fouls in this game. He played 15 minutes, but 10 points, 5 boards in just 15 minutes. He had a block. He had a steal. I thought he made a good impact. He was just getting it started at the beginning of the game where I think we've maybe seen one screen called for an offensive foul so far in his career. I couldn't remember one, but people on Twitter were saying, I tweeted it, and people on Twitter were saying he at least had one. I couldn't remember what it was. But he got called for 2 in a row, one at the 7-minute mark, one at the 6:20 mark. Mm-hmm. He got called for 2 offensive fouls on screens in a row. Something about Scott Foster's crew didn't like what Derek Lively was doing with his screens. But outside of that, he struggled with fouls a little. If he didn't have those, I don't think he would have struggled with fouls as much. He just got 2 quick ones there, but still made a big impact. Yeah,
no, I agree. Those are the killer ones, and why everyone was like, he needs to learn how to set screens, because you get those 2 quick illegal screens, and now all of a sudden your mindset changes. It's like, okay, well, I can't pick up my 3rd foul here, so you're not contesting shots the way you normally would. So yeah, just 2 unfortunate fouls that, the replays, I guess you could call those, but they're just so wishy-washy whenever they call it. Like, I don't know. You never know when they're going to call that a foul ever.
It's like a holding on an offensive lineman. Like, you could call it you could call holding at any point if you want to.
Yeah, exactly. I thought the officials were really bad in this game, but we don't even have to get there. But just he was good again. I mean, it's just a presence the Mavericks haven't had in a very long time.
What's that feeling like? The Mavs win a clutch game. Luka and Kyrie both play well in the second half, and we don't have to complain about the refs, even though they were bad. Wow.
Yeah. It feels really good. I just want them to play good in the first half, because, like you said earlier, it's just there's something in the back of your brain that's like, you guys are going to pay for this at some point in a serious way.
I did not expect this schedule to look like it has been so far. Wins against the Spurs, Nets, Grizzlies, Bulls, lost to the Nuggets, win against Charlotte and Orlando. They're really taking care of business. Like, all those games they should have won. The Nuggets won, they shouldn't have won, and they didn't. Now you got Toronto. That's another one, take care of business, kind of. And then the Clippers is going to be a fascinating one to see how that team looks. But that's what the schedule looks like coming up for the Mavs. And so we'll see if this first half, second half thing keeps up for them, if they can actually play well in the first half. So there you go. Tomorrow we'll be back. Jake Kemp will join me to talk about the Dallas Mavericks, and I'm sure we'll do some dumb zone things, and we'll talk about all that. And thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.